r/Askreddit. What's something you've seen that you can't unsee? My sophomore year of high school, my health teacher had an old student of his come in and give a presentation. She works in forensics. I think he thought the presentation would be about what she does at work, how she got there, etc. Instead she showed us photos of bodies her team had recovered. We all sat there horrified. The worst one for me was a week-old body they had found sitting in the Mississippi River. The second lady said, "Look how cool the decomposition is on his tattoos." The face of a 12-year-old girl. She and her mom came to my gas station to buy alcohol. Mother was pissed drunk. Girl got some chips. Mother got her booze. Girl apologized 1,000 times before she helped her mom back to the cab. This girl looked like she was on the verge of a mental breakdown. 12 years old. Rotten.com hosted a picture way back in the day of a guy without a helmet who had fallen off of his motorcycle face first. Everything from his nose down was gone. His tongue was just kind of hanging there. Lower mandible was totally destroyed. He was very much alive, conscious, and looking directly into the camera. His eyes were the worst part. The genuine terror expressed in those eyes is something I will never ever forget. Kinda like that it compared to the other stuff I'm reading, but at a restaurant I went into the bathroom and a guy was in there just blowing it up. I typically have an iron stomach, but it was borderline dry heave time. After he was done he got up, went and looked in the mirror, wiped his face off, and proceeded to leave. No flush or hand washing. Stall door was open, so I saw that massacre he calls a shit. It was everywhere but in the toilet. On the way out I saw him just chilling at his table, like he didn't just spread hot tar in there. I work as a peace officer at a hospital in Canada. While I was walking to the emergency department one day, I was approached by a family, father and 2 sons. The father said, "Excuse me, sir, can you help my wife out of the car?" Calm, collected, nonchalant. I thought this was your run-of-the-mill vehicle extraction, so I micked to my partner to grab a nurse and a stretcher. The father led me to the vehicle and I could see his wife laying across the back seat. Immediately I thought to myself, shit, she's not feeling well. Definitely gotta help her out of there. When I opened the door, her head snapped back. I guess her head was leaning on the door, and she was staring up at me, eyes bugged out and wide open, like she saw something terrifying. Startled the shit out of me, and I looked back at the husband. Same relaxed, calm demeanor as when I originally talked to him. I pulled her out of the vehicle and I could tell she already voided, so I'm thinking, shit, already too late. Nurse got on the stretcher and started CPR en route to the trauma room. After speaking with the father, I guess his wife had become catatonic about 15 minutes prior to arriving at the hospital and had stopped breathing. Instead of calling an ambulance, he decided to drive her there himself. Father claimed no drug use, but patient history showed she was an avid 4th opioid user. Poor family thought she was just medically sick when really she overdosed. Really sad. The Facebook Messenger conversation between my now ex-wife and a guy she knew discussing how they were going to stage an abduction and assault. The conversation went down to how it had to look like he kidnapped both of them, that our son wouldn't go with willingly, so they had to drug him, and how she had tested drugging me with the name of the drug that she had in her possession. That also explained my 24-hour flu that came randomly out of nowhere the previous weekend. Edit. Okay guys, time for me to put down the internet for the day and go spend time with my son. I'll respond to more when I can. Go hug your family, friends, even the furry ones, and be well to each other. My brother passed away at the beginning of the year and his dog was trapped inside the house for 3 days. There was blood everywhere. It was like viscera cleanup but worse. I can't drink that shit away. I took care of the job, so our parents would not see the details. I don't wish that scene upon anyone. When I was 10 or 11 I saw that PETA video of an ermine, mink, fox. It was some little furry creature with a longish snout, being skinned alive. Its whole body was basically degloved. At the end, they tossed the still living creature into a trash pile of other half dead, skinned animals, and it was crying and trying to move. It ucked me up so bad to see that at such a young age. I'm still absolutely horrified. The image will never leave me. A group chat of my fiance's friends, including some I considered close friends of mine, talking about how I'm just the absolute worst piece of shit in the world and how it was my fault he was suicidal. This happening the morning after the absolute worst heartbreaking fight we'd ever had, and I had no choice but to call the hotline and police because I was scared for him. This lady walking a kid across the street, but she basically got him run over by a cab. I saw his leg break, I mean like visibly break like a twig, and she makes him walk and try and walk it off. Kid was maybe 7. I called 911, she tried to kinda get away. There's more to this, but the seeing the leg snap on a little kid like that both made me FKN angry and sad in an instant. There's one more story. I still don't want to believe it, but I legit saw a nurse grab a newborn's penis and pull it hard, making the baby cry. I heard later there was a nurse brought up on charges for abuse. I duck and smash her face. If I saw her now, I don't forget the look. The Facebook post from my ex, proclaiming how wonderful her 3rd year anniversary dinner was with her fiancé. The official mark of the beginning of their relationship apparently predates the day she dumped me from our 7-year relationship by 2.5 weeks. When I was 11, a video of a Chechen soldier getting his head sawed off with a Bowie knife did the rounds on our phones. His grimace was the worst. His terrified eyes squeeze shut as the blade is jammed in behind his windpipe. Then his facial muscles all contract with pain as the guy just saws his ucking head off. I spent a fortnight holding my neck and clenching my jaw to my breastbone. But the absolute worst for me was a video of a train platform. The camera shows just beyond the lead down onto the tracks a baby, approx 9 months old, crawling around the track. Pop from a bystander looking at it crawling innocently around, grasping stones and shuffling its tiny feet over the steel track. From left frame, a massive train slowly rolls in, and the baby's head just crumbles under the wheel. The blood-curdling screams of the mother and other bystanders just made me wish I was a straight-laced, A+ student who wasn't morbidly curious. Ucked me up. My infant daughter on life support in the PICU after suffering cardiac arrest. She was only 11 weeks old. Passed away 4 days later. The gasping sounds she made as she passed away will haunt me the rest of my life. The ucking absolute worst week of my life and a nightmare I'm constantly reliving. No one should ever bury their child. No one. When I was 10, my mom was into our neighbor who had just gotten out of a divorce, and he'd let me come over to watch movies in the apartment. Well, being the naive kid I was, I wanted to talk to my mom while she was in the bedroom with the neighbor, and all I remember is this big fat blob pushing the covers up and down and my mom leaning her head around the man. Needless to say, I never saw that man after that. My grandma had a bad fall and had to stay in hospital overnight. I was with my auntie and my gran needed the toilet. My auntie took her to the toilet and I waited in the hospital bay. It was very late at night and most patients were asleep. There was one woman who was awake, but looked absolutely shocking, had heavy wheezy breathing. There was a staff member sat next to her who was monitoring her. I'd been stood there for maybe 5 minutes when the woman started coughing and eyes went wide. The staff member pressed a button which must have been a silent alarm, because the next thing about 5 nurses and a doctor appeared. They went to the patient and put the curtain round. Maybe 10 minutes later, one of the nurses came out and attached a picture of a swan on the outside of the curtain. This meant the lady had passed away. At the time I must have been 19, 20, or 21, I can't remember, but it really stuck with me how quickly a life can pass. I was left thinking, what about her family? Does she have people that will miss her? Is there someone that depends on her? I'm a clinical worker now, so I'm more used to life and death, but that was a massive eye-opening moment for me that I'll always carry with me. My wife giving birth to our daughter that passed the night before. She was 40 weeks, so after a 7-hour labor of knowing that our daughter was dead, nothing prepared me for the discoloration of my little angel. The umbilical cord was wrapped around her body and because of the fluids and stuff, the skin around her midsection was all peeled back. This was late October 2016. and I relive that nightmare daily. I can see it without closing my eyes. I love you, Harper Elizabeth. Rest easy. Edit. Thanks for the love, everyone. Going through a hard time and I don't ever talk except when it's too much, and this morning I was having a rough one. I didn't even expect this to be seen because of how late in the thread I commented. I only said something because I needed to talk. Thanks for the love. Truly yours. A damaged man.